So welcome to this segment of computers and mathematics, and I'm going to run you through a few basic ideas that you need to have in order to draw a flow chart as well as to come up with a pseudocode. So these are the basic ideas that I'm giving you. So we can ask ourselves then, what is a computer? Well, we can simply say, maybe a simple definition, we can simply say that a computer is an electronic, so we can say it is an electronic device that can, so it is capable of doing a lot of things. So maybe one, I can simply say, is an electronic device that can, one, it is capable accept data, so it is capable of accepting data as input. Two, it is a device that is capable of processing, so process data that you feed in. Then three, we can say that a computer is a device again that is able to store the data and information that is actually fed into it. Then lastly, maybe I can say that a computer is a device that is able to produce information. So that information that is produced is going to come out as the output. So basically, when we talk about a computer, it is simply an electronic device that can, one, accept data as input, what you feed into the computer. That data needs to be processed, so it can be processed, then the data can be stored. And of course, what was accepted as input data can actually be produced or can become as the output. So in simple terms, we can summarize these basic elements of the computer as this. So when we look at the basic elements, so we can say the basic elements of a computer, so we can actually summarize them as, we do have what we are calling as being input, so information is going to be put in as raw data. Then the computer is capable of now processing that information, and it is capable of giving you what we are calling as being the outer, to give you as being the output. That's what we mean. But of course, the information that is processed, the computer is also capable of storing it, so storage in this case. So these are the basic elements of a computer. Now this briefly leads me to what I'm calling in this case as being a flow chart. Possibly, when we talk about a flow chart, what exactly are we talking about? Remember that a computer carries out all its tasks in a logical order. So it is capable of carrying out all its tasks in a logical order. So a set of steps that need to be followed in order to solve a problem are also called or referred to as a flow chart. And therefore, in whatever steps that are needed to be followed in order to solve a particular problem, we need to have a flow chart. So I can simply I give you what one can do, what can one do in order to construct a flow chart. But to construct a flow chart, to follow the logical steps, remember we are simply talking about these are logical steps to solve a problem. So logical steps to solve a problem. So in order for you to draw a flow chart in mathematics, you need to be aware of certain symbols that are used and their meaning. So I'm going to pass you through symbols that we use and their meanings. So we can simply say maybe basic flow chart symbols. So we can look at basic flow chart symbols that you need to remember. Now, what are some of these basic flow chart symbols that you need to remember? Well, you are going to be using what we are calling as being arrows. So arrows can either be pointing, going to your right, going to your left, up or down. So that is the name there. So that is just an arrow. So what does that arrow represent when you're dealing with a flow chart? Well, that arrow indicates the flow between steps. So we can simply say that actually indicates, the flow, between steps. If you're moving from step A to step B, then that is going to be indicated by what we are calling as being an arrow. Another symbol that you're going to find under flowchart is what we are calling as being an oval. So you're going to have an oval shaped. It may look something like this. It may look something like this, or basically we can just draw it in that manner. So what does that oval represent? Well, the oval represents the start or end of a process. So this one represents start. I can just say maybe start or end of a process. So what under a flowchart, when you use an oval shaped symbol, it may actually indicate that you actually start or you actually end your program that you have. So normally we use them at the start or the end of a program. That is where we use an oval shape. Another shape that is common is what we are calling as being a rectangle. So you can also find what we are calling as being a rectangle. So what does a rectangle in this case indicate when you find a rectangle?